Okay, good morning, everybody, and thank you very much again for participating in this morning's White Plains City School District Reopening Committee meeting. Today's date is the 29th of September. It's hard to believe that we're already approaching October. Good news to start out today. We'll have some updates from our team members, but really this is more of kind of just an update for the committee and the community. As it were, we are in a position right now countywide, many of you are aware, where the incidents, the numbers of COVID-19 have been relatively flat, which is great news. In fact, looking nationally, some reports are indicating about a 33% reduction in the number of identified COVID-19 cases nationally. There are predictions that over the next 90 days or so, we could continue to see a dramatic decline in the prevalence of the virus nationally and even maybe globally. It's hard to remember, but way back when we first started planning and working through the pandemic, one of the points or highlights that was pointed out was that typically pandemics burn in the population for around 18 to 20 months. So we're kind of right there, which is interesting to see. Now, the other thing that we have to bear in mind is that there could be resurgences dependent upon the prophylactic measures that folks are taking in their communities. Fortunately, here in White Plains, we continue to observe the health safety standards that we have in place in our schools. By and large, we're continuing to see success there. We have had a couple of cases of COVID-19 come to us in our facilities, and we've addressed them. As you know, the changes with regard to contact tracing, quarantine, and potential isolation have changed. So we have had fewer disruptions in our school day and in our classrooms related to COVID-19, which is good. We have had a couple, but the number of folks who have been impacted is far reduced from what we were seeing apples to apples last year, certainly. The other thing to remember is that everybody's back. So, we are dealing with a much larger population in all of our facilities on a regular basis, and we're still seeing those positive outcomes. Again, not saying that the virus isn't around, but we are seeing those positive outcomes. We are participating in athletics. We're doing our specials area programming. We're doing all of those things, and at the same time being vigilant and continuing to self-monitor and continuing to follow the protocols that we have in place to keep everyone safe at school. So that's good news. Certainly, we will continue to be very vigilant and report incidences as they arise. But for all intents and purposes, really positive update as we approach October. We've worked through the challenges that, it's easy to forget, especially since we didn't necessarily feel them last year because we had such a different opening last year, but we're working through and getting there on the challenges of the typical reopening of the school year. So transportation issues and the like, working through all those. I want to really commend our faculty, staff members, our administrators for really, continuing to monitor and adjust in the facilities as needed based on what we're seeing. So things like hallways, making sure we're doing our best to be able to manage the congestion in our hallways. Not an easy thing to do, particularly when you think about the high school. There were over 2,000 children in that building, just children. So, you have thousands of people moving through the building at any given time, but we've made some adjustments there that have helped, but we're continuing to do that, and we're continuing to monitor and make changes as need be. I want to thank parents and guardians for continuing to be vigilant in terms of sending children to school if they're not feeling well. That's really important. So thank you for continuing to watch carefully and make those good decisions to keep kids home when they're not feeling well. Also want to point out, I'm sure Maggie will talk a little bit about this as well. We're going to be having some vaccination opportunities popping up in our school district in October. The other thing that's important is that for folks who are willing and able in our professional and support groups, we have now the opportunity for booster shots. And it's a very quick and simple process. You can pretty much walk into any pharmacy and no appointment needed, and go ahead and get that booster shot if that is something that you are interested in doing. So that's my brief update. I do want to go around, but I want to start with Dr. Longobardi. Doc, thanks so much for being with us. And we always appreciate when you kind of give us an update from your perspective in terms of pediatrics.
Sure, great. Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Ricca, for all that good news about COVID in the community and the great job that everyone's doing in the district to lower everyone's risk. And I'm glad that's happening. I want to point out that I don't have any inside information on when the younger folks are going to be up for getting vaccinated. So we're all sort of waiting for them to finish analyzing the studies. In case anyone had any doubt, yesterday the AAP cited research that masks in school actually do decrease COVID transmission, as well as lots of other infectious diseases. And although things have flattened out, we're still pretty regularly seeing several cases a week of school-aged, primarily unvaccinated kids with COVID. So I just wanted to reinforce, thankfully, they present with very mild illness, but that often sometimes leads people to dismiss it as just a cold or just a sore throat or just a little stomach thing. So I just want to remind everyone that really everything does need to be sort of cleared for COVID before we can say it's just a cold. And also to remind people to keep their other children home while we're assessing whether the sick child has COVID, because I've been having a number of families with the child who's been sick for a few days coming in to get tested, and the other 3 are at school. So I said, we have the ability now to do rapid PCR testing at WestMed, so it's no longer, for the most part, waiting, 2 or 3 days to get our results.
Thanks, Doc. And that's really, really important, especially when folks are awaiting the result of a test from a sibling or another family member, just bearing in mind that really we should operate with caution until we know the results of those tests. We don't want to inadvertently impact a classroom or a sports team or a play cast or whatever the case may be. Thanks, Doc. Any questions for Dr. Longobardi? Great. I just want to move to Nurse Racioppo. She's been working very, very hard getting ready for pop-up vaccination, but also getting ready to launch our rapid PCR testing program. Good morning, Maggie. Mute.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm really excited to say that we're going to have 2 vaccine clinics. One is October 20th, and that's going to be in the high school from 2:30 to 5:30. And the community is invited. So anyone that's unvaccinated can come to the clinic. I'll be sending out the permission slips and also doing a flyer in English and in Spanish to drum up that business. On October 22nd, Friday, we're also going to have a second clinic. The clinic is going to be in Highlands Middle School from 2:30 to 5:30 as well. And I will be sending out the flyers, as I said, and the permission slips for both of them. The other piece of it was, I forgot what I was even going to say, but just I am excited about all of that going on. And we're also going to do testing. It's going to be saliva testing, and it's going to be a PCR. And we're going to be doing that in all the schools very shortly. I do recommend that everyone sign up and give the permission so that we can do testing through all of the schools. In the beginning, we're going to want to do everyone. And then we're going to want to do 20% of the staff weekly and the children if the parents give us permission. I really think it's a great way to make sure that we pick up COVID early and we can, get everybody out of the buildings that need to be gotten out. That's the story. So look out for all of that. we're going to be sending flyers as soon as we know all of the details and the dates that we're going to start and begin doing all of that.
Thank you, Maggie.
No problem.
We all are also benefiting from an additional donation, a few thousand masks from County of Westchester Department of Health tomorrow over at Eastview. So we're grateful for that too, and that continued partnership and support. Anybody have any questions for Maggie? Great. All right, I want to give quick updates just from cabinet. I'm just going to go around the room real quick. Ms. Eilgarten, anything from your group? Nope, you're all good. Mr. Pepper? All good. Dr. Vaccaro-Teich?
Good morning. The only thing I would like to just say to parents is please, please, please continue to send your children to the bus with their masks. We provided masks, or if you forget, just ask that bus driver. So we keep being diligent. We must wear masks on our buses. And the same thing, please, 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 have your child use their Z-Pass. Swipe on and swipe off the buses. We have been working, with the high school on their congestion with mealtime and everything else. And Mr. Martinez, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that. But another reminder is the educational benefit form that used to be the meal application form that provides a lot more benefits than just, qualifying for free and reduced meals. It provides, access to benefits at home in terms of money on a card for food, in terms of access to Wi-Fi, and so forth. So you're going to see a K-12 come out and some flyers that are really, promoting that. And even though we have free meals this year, it's important to get those other benefits. Those were just the key points. Any questions?
Thanks, Ann. And for everybody who's watching, it really is advantageous to fill out those forms. Just send them back in. You might even think, well, we're not going to qualify for any supports. Fill the form out anyway, because you may qualify for some type of additional assistance for the children. And it, of course, every little bit helps. We are advocating for lunch to continue to be free for all children, even following the pandemic. We think that is a great investment nationally in our children. So we'll continue to advocate for that. But in the meantime, of course, all of our children have the benefit of free lunch for this. I shouldn't say free, but they don't have to pay for lunch at school this year. Thank you. And I also want to thank Sergio Alfonso. Sergio's been working really hard with National Express, and based on feedback and commentary that we're getting from parents and guardians and students, which is really helpful, being able to continue to massage and improve our transportation service. One of the things that we've heard from parents, guardians, and students is ventilation of the buses, having windows open, making sure that the venting is open. All that's very important, and we appreciate everyone letting us know. Sergio has been in contact with National Express, and we think, constantly making sure that we're being vigilant and they're being vigilant will only be helpful to everybody. Thanks, Ann. Okay, in terms of curriculum instruction, I just, Dr. Hand, unfortunately, is in another meeting, but I do want to share with you that we continue to work on our quarantine instructional continuity plan, our quick plan, making sure that if and when there is a situation when multiple students or students are impacted by quarantine, that there is that connection with the classroom or a classroom teacher and support professional to be able to help children maintain and manage any work that they're missing when they're out of school. Again, we recognize that if you're sick, if you're not feeling well, the first thing you need to do is get better. And we're all working in concert to provide that support for children. Fortunately, so far, that's not been a major need that we're seeing in our district or even regionally. But again, we want to make sure that we're ready, and we want to be able to make the pivot and provide the support if need be. So thanks to Deb Hand and all of those folks who are working to make sure that we're set there. I know WPTA, CSEA, and ASA have been integral in providing feedback and supporting us as we're making yet another shift to a new and novel way of supporting kids. Any questions, comments, or concerns about that? Or does anyone want to share anything? Kara, I wasn't sure, or you, David, or Jennifer. Everybody's good? Okay. I do want to just touch base real quick with principals and assistant principals, if anyone wants to give us an update from your vantage point, your perspective, and your facilities. Ms. Martinez, morning.
Good morning, everybody. So just want to give everybody an update on the work that we're doing here at the high school. Hopefully our parents are reading our monthly newsletters we're putting out, sharing some, really good news and some positive news, and also just keeping folks updated as to some of the areas that we're working on. So certainly, we've heard from some parents and some students concerns of the hallways and the cafeterias. As Dr. Vaccaro-Teich stated, we are working closely with food services to work on the congestion on the lines. I'm actually meeting with Dawn McGinn, our food services director, so we're going to talk about how do we identify the best location for students. So we might look at having certain grades go to a certain kitchen serving line versus the other. We're also making some adjustments when it comes to how do we move folks around in the building. I know that there's some conversations and concerns about the hallways. I want to remind our families that this building is very unique, right? So we have A building and B building, which there's only one way in and one way out in terms of that hallway leading to it. So while so we have explored with our reopening committee at the building level, the idea of one directional hallways, but it's just not that simple at the high school level, but we're certainly looking at other innovative ways to do things. Perfect example was just yesterday, Mr. Vitiello was able to make an adjustment to our bell to be able to add an additional warning bell right at the end of lunch. So therefore, we had some students start to proceed and move towards their 6th period class, and therefore it eased up some of the congestions that we saw in some of the areas right around the lunch spaces. So, those are some of the things that we're doing on a constant basis. We're always tweaking. So, if your child comes home and says, oh, something's a little different, well, that's great, right? That means we're being responsive and we're looking at ways of improving the flow of the building. The other part that I also want to share is about, there's this idea of, or concern about fights in the building. First off, I want to just share with you, I've been doing this for over 23 years, and, unfortunately, fights do happen in schools. What I will say, though, is that it's not what was out there at some point last week, that there was multiple fights in one day. That specific day, and I put this all in my newsletter, was we had one fight, and then there was another incident that, was just, had a large crowd. So we talked to the students about that. We addressed it immediately with the student body. And in fact, we also went into classrooms on Monday and Tuesday this week to just remind our students, that the expectations that are expected of them in this building. We get it that we're coming off of challenging 2 years. We have to remind our folks that our current freshmen, there are some that haven't been in a normal school setting since 7th grade. So there's definitely an adjustment period, and we're certainly working with them as best we can, but we're also going to, follow the code of conduct, and we are going to, suspend students if we have to. That's not the fun part of my job, but I will do it because, as I said to the students, and they actually have listened to me, because when I walked into classrooms yesterday, they did answer the question, which I said, what's my #1 priority for you guys? And they all said that safety. So they know that that's my most important role, is to make sure our students are safe here. I also, talk to the students and any feedback that they give me, we're certainly looking to make those changes. So as I said to the students, and I'll say to the parents, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, any of my assistant principals or house administrators if you have a concern. We'll certainly try to address them as best we can. But again, this is a unique situation where this high school is the 3rd largest high school in Westchester, and it does present some unique challenges. But I will also say this, our students are 99% compliant with their masks. Some have to be reminded to mask up a little bit, put their mask over their nose. But for the most part, we're not seeing a major, defiance of mask wearing in our building. So we're really proud because most of our kids, majority of our kids, I would say, are always doing the right thing and are always being, supportive. And we're just grateful for that. So thank you for that partnership always. And, if there's any questions, they can certainly reach out to us.
Thanks, Emerly. You and the team at the high school, faculty, staff, support members, administrators have been doing a great job. And you make a really good point. And I think this is important, not just for this committee, but for our community members who are watching, and most importantly for our students. We've never been in the type of school community where there's that threatening, you will do this or this will happen. That's just not how we operate. But what we do is we expect that the members of the community will uphold our shared expectations for safety and for security, right? And that also transcends into student behavior. You're absolutely right. For some of our children, it's been 2 full years since they have been in a school environment. So we understand that there is going to be that transitionary period. There's going to be a lot of need, and we've talked about that, social and emotional support, having additional support available for kids when needed. However, we will never sacrifice safety and security in our facilities for anything. So we have to remember that if there are situations when the code of conduct is not followed, that the consequences associated with that are severe. And we don't want to be in that situation, right? That's important. Folks know that one of the overarching goals in our strategic plan is to reduce the number of out-of-school suspensions in this school district. That's a real hard and fast goal. That's a desire that we all wish to see. But, and this is important, that goal cannot be achieved if students are not participating in that work with us. And that's important for everybody to understand, because we see this all the time. One bad decision, one mistake can lead to a really dramatically different path for a student, particularly at the high school level. And we don't want to see that happen. So please, again, for parents and guardians who are watching this, it's important to talk with our students. It's important that everybody understands that the expectations for school are not any different than they were in September of 2019, but that we all have to really make sure that we're on the same page, and we will continue to provide that support for our kids in any way that they need it. But thanks, Emerly, for all that.
Dr. Ricca, can I chime in for a quick second?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So just to build on what Emerly said, Ms. Figueroa and I and the rest of the administrative team visited every 9th grade social studies class and every 10th grade English class this week, and spent about 15 minutes in each room to review just that, specifically how this is their school, and they, meaning the students, really do need to play a large part in really taking ownership over that and making it a place where everybody feels safe and where everybody can learn. And we did also spend some time reviewing the code of conduct and, consequences and expectations in hallways, in bathrooms, in cafeterias, indoors, outdoors. I think it was needed because for some students, like Emerly said, it has been a while since they've been on a routine. And I think it was helpful for some students. I think, some students really appreciated it and asked questions, and it really helped put things in perspective for them.
Yeah, thanks for that, Guy. That is really important, right? Reviewing and teaching what the standards and expectations are. We can't assume that students come to us and know exactly what to do all the time. So that's a really important part at all levels within the school district. And, I think we all agree that it's a heartbreaking experience when you're meeting with parents and guardians and you're talking with them about after something has occurred, and you're talking with them about a new configuration for their students' educational experience. That's a serious thing. But again, we can't sacrifice, nor will we ever, the safety and security and the climate and culture of the entire building, based on misbehavior or mistaken behavior. We have to make sure that we're addressing that just like we would any other situation in the school community. So thank you, everybody, for all of your hard work there. And most importantly, thank you for our to our students. We know it's been hard. We know the transition back from a hybrid and remote environment has been into some, for some children, a very dramatic experience. And we continue to stand ready to provide that support to ease that transition wherever possible. One other thing that I will make mention of while we're talking about this for parents and guardians who may not be aware, it's also important to really have a sense of social media and how children are using social media and information that they're getting off of social media. So we know that unfortunately there have been some scavenger hunt type things announced on social media. Those are criminal activities. If there is a scavenger hunt that is asking students to steal things in a community or in a school or anywhere, that's a criminal activity. And you can't take that back, right? So we as parents and guardians, we as teachers and community members, we really have to make sure we have a very careful eye, not looking over their shoulder, but helping them to make good decisions. There is never going to be something on TikTok that's going to get you into an Ivy League school or get you into the career you want to go to or help you cross the end zone at the football game on Friday. Focusing on the things that matter are really important, and staying away from the things that could lead you astray would be really, really helpful. Deb, I think it would be a good idea to talk a little bit about the support that we have in expanding with our clinical services in the facilities. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Ricca. So we have expanded our partnership with Andrus, and it's really important that our community is aware, because not only do you have access to our clinical staff in our buildings, but we can refer your child to Andrus if your child meets the requirements, and they can, if they're struggling at home, either socially and emotionally or with anxiety or just need to speak with somebody, they can access services through an outside agency during their school day in their building. So currently, we have clinicians who are at White Plains High School from Andrus. Rochambeau will be starting next week. Eastview, we're still getting up and running, but they have a bilingual clinician ready to go. So as soon as Eastview meets with her, we can start it at Eastview. MAS has started, so there's Andrus at MAS. Church Street has Andrus in their school. Highlands has Andrus in their school, and Post Road has Andrus in their school. So most of our elementary schools and certainly our secondary schools all have access to additional support. And if you need information, you can contact either the current school psychologist or social worker in that building, or the building principal and assistant principal. And Eastview begins on Friday. Thank you very much, Suzanne. So we're in really good shape with being able to support students even more robustly than we already do. Thank you, Dr. Ricca.
Thank you. Okay, questions, comments, concerns, general updates from the committee?
I have a comment just about, hi everyone, just to piggyback on the mental health perspective. I know that the school is doing a tremendous amount to bring in services in-house. I think it's important for parents to know that there are community referrals. There are some people, because of stigma, that don't want to get treatment within the school, but Westchester is a very rich community when it comes to mental health services, that we have a number of different agencies and clinics that take almost every insurance that people have. So people should be aware. I know some people don't want their kids to get services in school just because they don't want the other kids to know, or but there are mental health services out there. I know you have a great mental health staff in the school system, but also to let parents know how to identify need, because sometimes parents just don't know that their kids are struggling, because kids are not going home and telling their parents they're depressed or anxious, or they're having a hard time and getting bullied. So any initiative that you can do, I think, to educate parents on how to identify those needs would be wonderful as well. I think there's such a high number of people needing services right now that it's important to let the community know.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. And for parents and guardians who are thinking, maybe just heard Ms. Marino talking about that and are thinking, oh, is my child struggling? Absolutely, feel free to reach out to us, or definitely connect with your child's pediatrician healthcare provider. And Ms. Marino is absolutely right. There are multiple ways to seek help in our community and in our county And so we can definitely help to direct folks to whichever will make them most comfortable and is most convenient for them and their children. Thanks, Patricia.
And there are resources up on the website under social and emotional resources. And you can always reach out to the schools for referrals.
That's great. Anything else? I know that there's been some questions. Should we rename this committee since we're wide open? I want to, but I worry that if we do that, then folks will not know that this, this is still the committee that is looking out and over the transition back out of the pandemic. So I'll keep an open mind on that, but for the time being, we're just going to keep the reopening committee name, just in case anybody was thinking that we should make that change. All right, everybody. Well, that was great. Nice short meeting. We'll definitely keep everyone up to date and up to speed with regard to COVID-19 prevalence in the community. And if anything pops up, certainly we will share it with the committee, and then we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Thanks again.